Ha ha Prabhu Korodaya Deho More Padachaya. Hare Krishna. All glories to Srila Prabhupada, all glories to the Sankirtan mission of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and all glories to the members of the Prabhupada Disciples Association and their attendance at our weekly readings and discussions of Srila Prabhupada's books that are specifically unedited versions and unadulterated by other people, haven't been changed. That's very valuable for our program, and I think it's one of the reasons why many of you attend on a regular basis is because we do use these unedited books as our means of learning the transcendental messages of Srila Prabhupada on how to become Krishna conscious. This is a science of sound. It is not a hatha yoga process. It is of stretching or breathing, but it is a science of listening, how to listen. And it's so nicely explained in the Srimad Bhagavatam through the association of other like-minded people. We can advance ourselves spiritually, and this is the idea for the operation of this class, discussions and readings in association with all of you. So we're very fortunate because time is of the essence for everyone. Just this last year, yesterday, one of our members, another member died yesterday here from Hamilton. So that's been, in the last so many months, we've had 3 people die, leave their bodies. So it's quite a significant thing that happens. I was talking to Dr. Trevor, who attends our classes every week. If he doesn't show himself on the screen, he has a phone number, so he's there present through his phone. And I was mentioning to him that we could not waste our time because time is very valuable and we never know when we will leave. And this Bhaktine that was coming, she was the one that introduced Trevor to me about 1.5 years ago. Since then, Trevor's bought all the books and he's been studying the scriptures and attending the classes inconspicuously with our group, but nonetheless very sincere, devoted person. So we do appreciate that this lady that left, Suzanne Coy, she brought Trevor to Krishna here. She came for prasadam, and she had kirtans with us. And she was a friend of mine for about 10 years. And on the pursuit of spiritual life. And we somehow or other were fortunate enough to play a small role in helping her get some Krishna mercy. So all the people that we've been working with, they get prasadam, they get some association and encouragement. And the best use of time, because time is marching, everyone. And we're not guaranteed another moment's opportunity to come to these classes or to serve our community with Krishna consciousness, because for one who is born, death is certain. And for one who has died, birth is certain. That's Krishna's message in the Gita. And, when you see all these beautiful pictures that Vinkat Bhatta puts up of Prabhupada, and, it was so shocking when Prabhupada left us. It was, I know for many of you that were alive when Prabhupada was with us in the movement, it was scarcely believable that he had passed away or left the material plane in that body. So it's a tragedy, but gives us an opportunity to have a deep realization about the fact that we are not this body, but we are servants of Krishna. And we'll carry on with the reading of our diary from Srila Prabhupada back in 1966, so back in time, and give us a understanding of how hard he worked and used his time so effectively and in a very focused manner in serving the mission of his Guru, Maharaj Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur Prabhupada. So we're at July 1st, 1966, Chaturdasi, sunrise 4:35, sunset 7:32, moon set 4:01. Prabhupada's very excited with how things are evolving. Today I entered the new house at 26 2nd Avenue and rear portion was a room number B1. For my purpose, all good. I do not know why Krishna is trying to establish me in New York. I am his servant's servant, and therefore let his desire be fulfilled through my agency. The landlord, Mr. Gardner, is Pukka landlord. Means first class. He knows how to increase the rent, so I am not sorry for 2 months. Namely, July and August, I will have to pay at 62 and odds, whereas from September 1st, I will have to pay $71 and odds. That means other attachments, maybe electricity or whatever. Let me see how Krishna arranges the things. In the evening, there was a meeting in the new store. There was about 8 men. The collection was $5.50. Book collection, he's selling books, $4. The whole day I waited for Con Edison, but they did not attend. Telephone duly installed. The new number is 674-7428. Expenditure was 50 cents. Saturday, July 2nd, 1966, as the clock was ticking. Purnima, sunrise 4:36, sunset 7:32, moon rise 8:45. Today also I phoned to Con Edison. They have promised to come sometimes today. Let me see what they do. On Sunday, July 3rd, Pratipada, sunrise, sunset. Monday, July 4th. So he's moving forward. He's got a lot on his plate to organize. He's limiting the amount of comments here in the diary. It's called a business in action, a business plan in action. So Prabhupada's very busy getting everything organized. Monday, July 4th was a Dvija, and Tuesday was a July 5th, sunrise, sunset, moonrise. And then Wednesday, July 6th, sunrise, sunset, moonrise. He doesn't mention the times. Today I purchased a stove and utensils, $18. So Prasadam distribution is going to start. In the meeting, the collection was $8. Society collection. Okay, money for getting the organization registered. Raymond, $10. Carl, $10. Raphael, $20. That's $40. So he's setting that aside for that expense. In the meeting at 22nd Street Store, it is settled that the society will be incorporated and the name of the society shall be International Society for Krishna Consciousness. 11 trustees were agreed. So Prabhupada selecting different people to form a trustee board. And it wasn't that he was picking all kinds of, there was very few qualified people. So he was picking different people he felt were sincere. And in this way, was able to get this organization moving forward. Did I give Thursday, July 7th, Vinkapata? Yes. Panchami, sunrise 4:38, sunset 7:31, moonrise 10:49. Today I saw Mr. Goldsmith in his office. He has paid $10. The papers of the meeting were handed over to him. It is expected that the society will be registered by the next week. He says everything is all right. So he's the lawyer acting for the formation of the society. Michael Grants was paid $20 for Con Edison deposit for the society. $40 less $20. Add $10, so $30 for society. $30 for society. See, using that legal position now to operate his life. Bus fare was 30 cents. In the evening, the two Indian gentlemen, namely Bhagwat and Trivedi, met me and talked with me till 10 at night, and the expenditure was $2. It's interesting that we're also moving forward with our group, the Prabhupada Disciples, at this same time at 2023, and organizing many branches legally throughout the world as the Hare Krishna Society. So all glories to Srila Prabhupada, and all glories to the Sankirtan movement of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. We'll have the Radha Madhava Bhajan and the class this morning on Bhagavad-gītā given by His Grace Yaśodā-nandana Prabhu, who's in California. All glories to Srila Prabhupada.
Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Yaśodā-nandana Brajajana Ranjana Yaśodā-nandana Brajajana Ranjana Jamuna Tira Banachari Jamuna Tira Banachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari गोपी जन वल्लभ गिरिवरधारी गोपी जन वल्लभ गिरिवरधारी यशोदानंदन ब्रज जन रंजन यशोदानंदन ब्रज जन रंजन यमुना तीर बनचारी यमुना तीर बनचारी जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी जय हम परमहंस परिव्राजकाचार्य सिद्धांत सरस्वती गोस्वामी भगवान की जय। अनंत कोटि वैष्णव की जय। रामाचार्य श्री हरिदास ठाकुर की जय। प्रेम से कहो श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवाचार्य गौर भक्ति की जय। श्री श्री राधा कृष्ण भोग गोपनाथ श्याम कुंड राधा कुंड गिरिवर्धन की जय। वृंदावन धाम की जय। नवद्वीप धाम की जय। गंगा माई की जय। जमुना माई की जय। गुरु द्वारका धाम की जय। स्वामी तो भक्तविंद की जय। ऑल ग्लोरी टू जय। ऑल ग्लोरी टू जय। थैंक यू वेरी मच।
ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम अज्ञानतिमिरान्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूपः कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकं। वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरोः श्रीयुतापदकमलं श्रीगुरुन् वैष्णवंश्च श्रीरूपं सागरजातं सहगुणा रघुनाथं अन्वितं तं सजीवं सद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधाकृष्णपादं सहगुणललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितंश्च। हे कृष्ण करुणा सिन्धो दीनबन्धो जगत्पते गोपेश गोपिका कान्त राधाकान्त नमोऽस्तुते। तप्त कंचन घोरंगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये। वंशकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrindam Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So welcome everyone to this reading of Bhagavad-gītā As It Is. We are reading from the 1972 Macmillan edition, original, non-edited, non-adulterated edition. All synonyms, translations, and purports by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupāda, Founder-Ācārya of the International Society for Krishna Consciousness, also known as the Krishna Consciousness Movement. We are reading from text number 12. Mogasha Mogakaramanu Mogajnana Vichetasaha Rakshashim Asurim Cheva Prakritim Mohinim Shritaha Mogashaha, baffled hope. Mogakarmanaha, baffled in fruitive activities. Mogajnanaha, baffled in knowledge. Vichetasaha, bewildered. Rakshashim, demonic. Asurim, atheistic. Cha, and. Eva, certainly. Prakritim, nature. Mohinim, bewildering. Shrita, taking shelter of. Translation by Srila Prabhupada. Those who are thus bewildered are attracted by demonic and atheistic views. In that deluded condition, their hopes for liberation, their fruitive activities, and their culture of knowledge are all defeated. Purport. There are many devotees who assume themselves to be in Krishna consciousness and devotional service, but at heart do not accept the Supreme Personality of Godhead Krishna as the absolute truth. For them, the fruit of devotional service, going back to Godhead, will never be tasted. Similarly, those who are engaged in fruitive pious activities and who are ultimately hoping to be liberated from this material entanglement will never be successful, either because they deride the Supreme Personality of Godhead Krishna. In other words, persons who mock Krishna are to be understood to be demonic or atheistic. As described in the 7th chapter of Bhagavad-gītā, such demonic miscreants never surrender to Krishna. Therefore, their mental speculation, to arrive at the absolute truth, bring them to the false conclusion that the ordinary living entity and Krishna are one and the same. With such a false conviction, they think that the body of any human being is now simply covered by material nature, and that as soon as one is liberated from this material body, there is no difference between God and himself. This attempt to become one with Krishna will be baffled because of delusion. Such atheistic and demoniac cultivation of spiritual knowledge is always futile. That is the indication of this verse. For such persons, cultivation of the knowledge in the Vedic literature like the Vedanta Sutra and the Upanishads is always baffled. It is a great offense, therefore, to consider Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, to be an ordinary man. Those who do so are certainly deluded because they cannot understand the eternal form of Krishna. In the Brihad Vaishnava mantra, it is clearly stated that one who considers the body of Krishna to be material should be driven out from all ritual and activities of the Shruti. And if one by chance sees his face, he should at once take bath in the Ganges to rid himself of infection. People jeer at Krishna because they are envious of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Their destiny is certainly to take birth after birth in the species of atheistic and demoniac life. Perpetually, their real knowledge will remain under delusion, and gradually they will regress to the darkest region of creation. Text 13. Mahatmanas mam partha devim prakritim ashritaha bhajantyananya manasu gyatva bhutadim avyayam. Mahatmanaha, the great souls, to but mam, unto me, partha, O son of Prita, devim, divine, prakritim, nature, ashrita, taken shelter of, bhajanti, render service, ananya manasaha, without deviation of the mind, jnatva, knowing, bhuta, creation, adim, original, avyayam, inexhaustible. Translation. O son of Prita, those who are not deluded, the great souls, are under the protection of the divine nature. They are fully engaged in devotional service because they know me as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, original and inexhaustible. Purport. In this verse, the description of Mahatma is clearly given. The first sign of the Mahatma is that he is already situated in the divine nature. He is not under the control of material nature. And how is this affected? That is explained in the 7th chapter. One who surrenders unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna, at once becomes freed from the control of material nature. That is the qualification. One can become free from the control of material nature as soon as he surrenders his soul to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. That is the preliminary formula. Being marginal potency, as soon as the living entity is freed from the control of material nature, is put under the guidance of the spiritual nature. The guidance of the spiritual nature is called Devim Prakritim, divine nature. So, when one is promoted in that way, by surrendering to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, one attains to the stage of great soul, Mahatma. The Mahatma does not divert his attention to anything outside Krishna, because he knows perfectly well that Krishna is the original Supreme Person, the cause of all causes. There is no doubt about it. Such a Mahatma or great soul develops through association with other Mahatmas, pure devotees. Pure devotees are not even attracted by Krishna's other features, such as the four-armed Mahavishnu. They are simply attracted by the two-armed form of Krishna. Since they're not attracted to other features of Krishna, what to speak of the demigods, they're not concerned with any form of a demigod or of a human being. They only meditate upon Krishna in Krishna consciousness. They're always engaged in the unswerving service of the Lord in Krishna consciousness. Om Ajnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshuran Militam Yena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaham. I offer my respectful obeisances. We all offer our respectful obeisances unto our spiritual master, Srila Prabhupada, who has opened our eyes from the darkness of ignorance with the torchlight of the transcendental knowledge. Namaom Vishnupadaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Bhakti Siddhanta Shishyaya Bhaktivedanta Namine Prasannaya Prashantaya Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Bhagavad Vandanam Kadhyam Guru Vandana Purvakam Kshiram Sharkara Yuktam Kadatihi Visheshataham Adadana Strinam Danter Idam Yachi Punaha Punaham Srimad Rupa Padam Bhoja Dhulishyam Janma Janmani Namo Mahabhadanyaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namne Gauratvishe Namaham Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrindam Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So here we see that Lord Krishna is presenting in a series of various verses, all the way from text 11 and text number 12, about the characteristic of the Asura. Rakshashim Asurim Cheva Prakritim Mohinim Shritaha. Now this is a very important point, because one cannot assume that because one becomes a devotee, that everybody will have a similar nature. We've often discussed how in the Vishnu Purana, there is a verse that describes two kinds of living beings in the universe. Dvabhuta sargalokesmin deva asura evacha. That there is the divine and the demoniac, the pious and the impious. So a person may ask, well, how do we distinguish between who is who is exhibiting which characteristics? Vishnu Bhakta Smritu Deva Asurastad Viparyaya. Those who are devotees of Lord Vishnu, those who are faithful to God, they are pious, they are Deva. And those who are against that nature, atheistic in nature, demonic in nature, that is Asurastad Viparya, the opposite, the contrary. So this is a very important point, because we see, especially in Kali Yuga, somebody was mentioning to me the other day, there seems to be a great increase of all different kinds of demonic, atheistic principles being promoted all over the world. So many nonsensical ideologies, atheistic ideologies against God, against godly principles. Very important point. We have to learn to distinguish. That's why the Bhagavad-gītā is there. The Bhagavad-gītā gives us very clear instructions about the influence and the result of demonic activities. Here in this text number 12, Krishna is describing those who are thus bewildered and attracted by demonic and atheistic views. In that deluded condition, their hopes for liberation, their fruitive activities, and their culture of knowledge are all defeated. Now, this is quite significant. During the manifested presence of Lord Krishna 5,000 years ago, there were many also demonic characters, demonic entities who tried to kill Krishna. Of course, nobody can kill Krishna, but they tried. Everybody knows the story of all of these various associates of Kamsa. And Kamsa thought, if I kill all the Brahmins and stop all the sacrifices for Lord Vishnu, then Lord Vishnu will be killed. This is the demonic mindset. We were discussing a few classes ago about the activities in the Srimad Bhagavatam of King Vena. King Vena, the father of Maharaj Prithu, had a very demonic mindset. He wanted to stop all sacrifices, all charities, all glorification of Krishna, of Vishnu. He passed a rule in his kingdom: no more fire sacrifices, no more yajna, no more chanting, no more prayers, no more Vedic recitations. And the Brahmanas in those days were very powerful, and they became very upset with him. Very upset with him. So they decided to replace him, to give him a better body. So simply by chanting mantras, they took his life away. Somebody may ask, well, how can they do that? How can somebody just by chanting mantra? Well, first of all, that was in a previous age where people lived for a very long time, were much more pious, much more powerful. And the demonic influence of King Vena was very, very negative. Was very negative for the social condition. So the Brahmin decided to replace him. So then King Prithu came. He was an incarnation of Krishna to reestablish Varnashram, to reestablish the proper social condition in society. So the demonic king was replaced. Now this is quite significant that in Kali Yuga, as Kali Yuga progresses, the increase in this Chaturvida Papa, these four sinful activities, also increases. Illicit sex, meat eating, gambling, intoxication, so many nonsense activities. Why do people do this? They're thinking they're going to get relief from the suffering of material existence. But that does not work. What works is described in text number 13. O son of Pritha, those who are not deluded, the great souls, are under the protection of the divine nature. They are fully engaged in devotional service because they know me as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, original and inexhaustible. And Prabhupada explains that this is the definition of a Mahatma. Mahatma in Sanskrit means great soul, Maha-Atma. Now, this is not understood by political activities or by engaging in political protest or social revolution. That is not the meaning of the word Mahatma. Mahatma means one who is engaged in devotional service out of conviction of the exalted position of Lord Krishna. And this is where the personality of Srila Prabhupada comes in. He came to the Western countries as the representative of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, as the bona fide representative of the Brahma Madhva Gaudiya Sampradaya disciplic succession, to bring the teachings of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to the West, to show how to become a Mahatma, how to become a soul dedicated to Krishna, not to remain a Duratma. There's Mahatma and there's Duratma, Dura Atma, crooked soul. There's great soul and crooked soul. One should not remain steeped and absorbed in all of these negative, bad karmic activities, vikarmic activities, sinful activities. That is simply a very difficult position. Yesterday, a devotee sent me a clip on YouTube of a woman who was talking about that this promiscuousness in Kali Yuga is very destructive, is very negative. This illicit sex, all this nonsense indulgence in sense gratification. This woman was speaking almost like a devotee, explaining how it is much better to remain sense controlled before marriage rather than engage in all kinds of illicit promiscuity, which is exactly what Srila Prabhupada and our great acharyas are preaching. Because otherwise, what we know from Bhagavad-gītā, this promiscuity will increase varna sankara, or unwanted progeny, demonic population. So we see from Bhagavad-gītā what is the process given by Lord Krishna to become a Mahatma. We've seen in chapter 7 of Bhagavad-gītā, we've read that a few months ago, in text number 9, where Krishna describes, in text number 19, Bahunam janmanamante jnanavan mam prapadyate Vasudeva sarvamiti samahatma sudurlabhaha. After many births and deaths, he who is actually in knowledge surrenders unto me, knowing me to be the cause of all causes and all that is. Such a great soul is very rare. Now, this is very important text here. Prabhupada is explaining the living entity, while executing devotional service or transcendental rituals after many, many births, may actually become situated in transcendental pure knowledge that the Supreme Personality of Godhead is the ultimate goal of spiritual realization. In the beginning of spiritual realization, while one is trying to give up one's attachment to materialism, there is some leaning towards impersonalism. But when one is further advanced, he can understand that there are activities in the spiritual life and that these activities constitute devotional service. Realizing this, he becomes attached to the Supreme Personality of Godhead and surrenders to him. At such a time, one can understand that Lord Sri Krishna, Krishna's mercy, is everything, and that he is the cause of all causes, and that this material manifestation is not independent from him. Prabhupada goes on, he says, thus he thinks of everything in relation to Vasudeva or Sri Krishna. Such a universal vision of Vasudeva precipitates one's full surrender to the Supreme Lord Sri Krishna as the highest goal. Such surrendered great souls are very rare. So this is a very important point. We also see Lord Krishna at the end of the 5th chapter of Bhagavad-gītā explains, Bhoktaram Yajñatapasam Sarvaloka Maheshwaradam Suridam Sarvabhutanam Yatmamam Shantam Richati. So many times people are asking how to achieve peace. We want peace. Well, Krishna is giving the solution. Bhoktaram Yajnatapasam. One has to recognize that God is the enjoyer or the beneficiary of all of our activities. Sarvaloka Maheshwaram. He is the proprietor of everything. All the land, all the properties, everything belongs to Krishna. Suridam Sarvabhutanam. He is the best friend of all living entities. And knowing this, Yatvamam Shantam Richati. One can achieve peace. In other words, one cannot achieve peace by some kind of political hodgepodge or political concoction. That will not work. If one behaves like an animal, conducts himself like an animal, eats all kinds of nonsense, then where's the question of peace? One will be affected and infested with a mode of passion. So one has to raise one to the mode of goodness, sattva gun. And if one raises himself to the mode of sattva gun, then gradually one will realize the position of Krishna. Vasudeva sarvamiti. But if one behaves like an animal, eats like an animal, conducts himself like an animal, where's the question of peace? This is a very important point. One cannot expect some peace, just like if you put certain dogs together, the tendency is to fight. They will want to mark their territory. They will bark, they will fight. But human society, human life is not meant to fight like cats and dogs or like lions and tigers. That is the natural tendency of a lion. He will fight, to be aggressive, to go after his prey. Same for tigers. We are not animals. We are not monkeys. We are not pigeons. We have been given this human form of life where we have a higher degree of intelligence by which we can understand what is the mission of the human form of life, to develop our love for God. And how do we do that? This is nicely explained in the Chaitanya Charitamrita. Sadhu Sangha, Sarva Shastra Koi. All the Shastras have advised to associate with sadhus. And what will be the result? That if you associate with sadhus, with saintly persons, Sarva Siddhi, Sadhu Sangha Sarva Siddhi, you will achieve all perfection. Now, it's interesting to note that in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, when Srila Prabhupada gives the English translation of this Bengali verse, he says, even if one associates with a saintly person for 1/11, Lavamatra Sadhu Sangi, Lavamatra in Sanskrit, Prabhupada translates as 1/11 of a second, still one will achieve perfection. That is the power of the association of pure devotees. In the beginning of all these readings and discussions, Vishwakarma Prabhu is reading from Srila Prabhupada's diary. And we see that Srila Prabhupada is taking so much pain, so much detail with the money, with communication, replying letters, meeting with people, arranging for classes, cooking, so many things he's doing. Why is he doing that? You know, Prabhupada could have very easily stayed in Vrindavan. He was living at the abode of Rupa Goswami at the Radha Damodar temple. He had his rooms there. But he did this out of his compassion, out of his kindness, out of his deep realization of the person of Lord Krishna and Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So therefore, we have to be very conscious and understand the unique, special position, the historical and spiritual position of Srila Prabhupada. This person is not just a regular guru or somebody who came at the right place at the right time. No. He's an eternal associate of Lord Krishna, Nitya Siddha. Nitya Siddha. According to the writings of our previous Acharya, this chanting of Hare Krishna comes from the spiritual world. Golokera Premadana Harinama Samkirtana. This chanting of Hare Krishna, this Samkirtan, comes from Goloka Vrindavana. And it is brought down here by the merciful compassion, by the activities of our great Acharyas, Purva-Ācārya, previous spiritual teachers, gurus, because they have fully realized the meaning of that text in Bhagavad-gītā, chapter 7, text 19, this chapter 9, text 13. I was reading recently our Bhaktivedanta Saraswati Thakur, by the time he was 8 or 9 years old, had learned all the verses in Bhagavad-gītā. That is not an ordinary person. At 9 years old, he knew the entire Bhagavad-gītā. Prabhupada said he was a great, great scholar. One time, one devotee in Calcutta came to Prabhupada, "Oh, Prabhupada, you're just like gold." Prabhupada said, "No, I'm just like iron. My Guru Maharaj, he was like pure gold." Prabhupada said he was a walking encyclopedia. Such deep realization, such deep knowledge of the Shastras. When we got the Nectar of Devotion in Los Angeles in July of 1970, Srila Prabhupada told the devotees that every day they should read this book, every single day. And before they read, they should study the second verse, repeat, Nana Shastra Vicharane Nipuno Saddharma Samstapako. That the 6 Goswamis were very expert in analyzing and studying all the revealed scriptures to establish Saddharma Samstapako, to establish what is real bhakti, what is real devotional service. So when we read these purports of Srila Prabhupada, that is the manifestation of his kindness, just like the 6 Goswamis were very kind to analyze all the scriptures and write all these books for the benefit of human society. And Srila Prabhupada did the same thing, taking these very deep esoteric Sanskrit purports and presenting very nicely in simple English language the meaning of all these shastras, all these revealed scriptures. Now, it is not very complicated to understand. Recently, I saw a video of Srila Prabhupada in Australia, where Srila Prabhupada was asked by Madhudvisa Swami that some people asking, many persons are asking whether it's possible to become purified in one lifetime, to become liberated in one lifetime. And Prabhupada immediately replied, Prabhupada said, you can do it in 1 minute. And Prabhupada quoted that verse from the Bhagavad-gītā, Sarva dharman parityaja mamekam sharanam braja. Aham tvam sarva papebhyo mokshayishyami masuchaham. And Prabhupada emphasized the last part of that verse, where Krishna says, you surrender unto me, I will liberate you, don't worry. Everything is taken care of. Just like in various countries around the world, if you have a motor vehicle or a home, the government insists that you should buy insurance, especially if you have a car. They say you must carry insurance. Now, why do they do that? Well, they want to prevent, if you hit somebody, that there's some kind of financial arrangement that this person can be compensated. This is a very important point. Very important point. So a devotee may ask, well, what is my insurance policy if I become a devotee of Krishna? Krishna gives, moksha yishyami masuchaha. Mokshayishyami. We see also in the Bhagavad-gītā, Krishna explains, Ananyas chintayanto mam ye janaha paryupasate tesham nitya biyuktanam yogakshemam vahamyam. To those who are surrendered unto me, I carry what they lack and protect what they have. Krishna protects. He is the ultimate protector. Of course, for those who are too atheistic or too demonic, too impious, that is difficult to understand. But we see in this Bhagavad-gītā how Devim Prakriti Mashritaha, under the protection, taking shelter, under the protection of the divine nature. Krishna is the ultimate protector. We've often discussed that song of Bhaktivedanta Thakur, Nadia Ghodrume Nityananda Mahajan, where Srila Sachidananda Bhaktivedanta Thakur is describing in this song the preaching method of Nityananda Prabhu. And he explains in part of that song, Krishna Mata, Krishna Pita, Krishna Dana Pran, that you'd accept Krishna as your father, as your mother, as your best friend. Give up all attachment. Krishna Samsara Kari Chadyanachar. Give up all other attachments and become attached to Krishna. That is the solution. That is the solution for all problems. We see in the Bhagavad-gītā so many times, Krishna is explaining that if you do this, you engage in his service, Yatvamam Shantam Richati, you will become very peaceful. That if you do this process of devotional service, you will be protected. Moksha Yishyami Masuchaha, don't worry. In so many places. And it's not very complicated. Krishna's make it easy. Patram pushpam phalam toyam yome bhaktya prayachati. Srila Prabhupada was explaining in one place how any person in any part of the world, whether rich man, poor man, anybody, man, woman, anywhere, you can offer Krishna a little water, a little fruit, a leaf, if you have tulsi leaf, or Prabhupada said even a green leaf, with some love and dev, yome bhaktya prayachati. Krishna will be pleased. Simple. Of course, if one is a rich man, he should not try to afford the minimal. When we came back from a city in Tamil Nadu in 1972, in Coimbatore, we had met a very rich man, and the man did not want to become a life member. He just wanted to give maybe 200 rupees. So we explained to him that it is for your benefit that you become a life member. But he was so attached that he could not give. When Prabhupada heard the story, he made a very interesting comment. Srila Prabhupada said, next time this happens, you tell him, Krishna does not see always how much you give. He sees how much you're keeping for yourself. Remember that. Very important instruction from His Divine Grace. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna.
Very profound statement for that, this discussion of Krishna consciousness. And I thought, Prabhu, you touched on a very significant point about the question that was given to Prabhupada on how long does it take to become Krishna conscious. And it's further Krishna explains in the Gita, Prabhupada does in the purport, that you can become Krishna conscious immediately. It is simply a matter of understanding and accepting the fact. That is not a somewhat easy thing, it appears, for most people, because they have selective hearing. In other words, there's information that's given. Everyone is born, everyone may die at any moment, but no one thinks that they will die, that they will leave the body. They'll just be, it's everybody else that's going to leave. So Prabhupada is the mercy representative of Krishna, and that association that he gives us is in the form of his Vani incarnation, which is the key to understanding this philosophy, which has fallen under a great deal of controversy recently, because people think that you need the association of a person, Vapu, and only by that association can you become Krishna conscious. But our Prabhupada has created, through his Vani incarnation, that personal association for each one of us here, for all of us to go back home, back to Godhead, because it's a personal relationship that each one of us has with the pure devotee. And this is only possible by those who properly engage their time in carefully studying Prabhupada's books. These are essential. And we also stress in our group that the devotees read only the unadulterated, unedited books by His Divine Grace to get the pure message, to get that real transcendental link to the spiritual world through him. It's described that Prabhupada is a transparent via media. In other words, he has completely surrendered his entire being, all of his senses, all of his activity in the service of Krishna. So he becomes an instrument in the hands of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, in the hands of his guru, a transparent via media. And so it's association with him that will enable us to make advancement. Of course, we also want to have association with genuine Prabhupada disciples. That is also key. And one should be very careful when they go into the marketplace. I can remember Yaśodā Prabhu first going to India in the 70s to buy saris for the ladies that were in the temple, because the temple president would go to India, we would attend these functions, but along with that, we had service. We had to pick up dhotis and kurtas and saris and neck beads and bead bags and gopi chand, the decoration for the forehead, the dust of Vrindavan. All kinds of duties, mridungas, cartels. We would have to get all these items for the paraphernalia that we needed to spread Krishna consciousness. And the first time I went into the marketplace, I didn't know the difference between silk and rayon or nylon. So I went into the sari store, and the person sold me rayon instead of silk, telling me it was silk, but in fact, it was imitation silk. So, like that, there are a lot of people that are in the business of the guru business, and they're pretending that this is genuine, what they say and what they do and how they preach and how they chant. But in fact, they're contaminated by their own personal motives. And this is something that is a big problem for a lot of sincere, innocent people that are being misled by them. And this is the most unfortunate thing. It's actually a tragedy, and it's, for some of us, it's a shock to see how chaotic, how distorted the reality of Krishna consciousness principles have been twisted in this modern time through ambition of mundane people who try to take up spiritual life and make it a business in order to live comfortably. And they're convinced that they are doing the right thing. The people that are with them are considering that they are following the right person. And in fact, this is a great sin against our spiritual master and against the principles of Krishna consciousness, which are based on the transcendental message coming from him. I'm going to ask Venkat Bhatta Prabhu, please, to take us to this book by Rupa Goswami, which is called The Nectar of Instruction. And we were very excited back in the day when we first got this book, because it was, again, further information on how to follow Krishna consciousness. And it's text 3, Utsahan Nischaya Daryat Tat Tat Karma Pravartanat Sangha Tyagat Satobrate Sadbir Bhakti Prasiddhati. There are 6 principles favor to the execution of pure devotional service. Being enthusiastic. Prabhupada was certainly very enthusiastic, Yaśodā Prabhu. Endeavoring with confidence. 3, being patient. 4, acting according to regulated principles such as Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu Smaranam, hearing, chanting, and remembering Krishna. 5, abandoning the association of non-devotees. Here is very important. And 6, following in the footsteps of the previous acharyas. Again, who is the previous acharya? Srila Prabhupada. These 6 principles undoubtedly assure the complete success of pure devotional service. So this is the formula here in Nectar of Devotion, being specifically explained to us by Rupa Goswami. Devotional service purport. We'll read briefly through some of the purport. Devotional service is not a matter of sentimental speculation or imaginative ecstasy. Lots of that's going on in this modern situation. Its substance is practical activity. Srila Rupa Goswami in his Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu has defined devotional service. Anya balasita sunyam jnana karma dit anabritam anukulena Krishna nu sulanam bhaktir uttama. Uttama bhakti, or unalloyed devotion unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna, involves the rendering of devotional service in a way that is favorable to the Lord. The devotional service should be free from any extraneous motive. That's the pure devotee, no motive, and devoid of fruit of karma, impersonal jnana, and other selfish desires. Bhakti is a sort of cultivation. As soon as we say cultivation, we must refer to activity. Cultivation of spirituality does not mean sitting down idly for meditation or some pseudo-yogi, as some pseudo-yogis teach. Such idle meditation may be good for those who have no information of devotional service. And for this reason, it is sometimes recommended as a way to check distracting materialistic activities. Meditation means stopping all nonsensical activities, at least for the time being. Devotional service, however, not only puts an end to all nonsensical mundane activities, but also engages one in meaningful devotional activities. Now we'll jump forward here to in the purport in my book, it's page 33. Furthermore, in terms of association, Prabhupada says that we should give up the association of non-devotees, give them up. Furthermore, in order to be successful in devotional service, one must give up the association of undesirable people. This includes karmis, gyanis, yogis, and other non-devotees. Once Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was asked by one of his household devotees about the general principles of Vaishnavism, as well as the general routine activities of the Vaishnava. And Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu immediately replied, Asatsanga Tyaga E Vaishnava Ācārya. Characteristically, a Vaishnava is one who gives up the association of worldly people or non-devotees. Srila Narottam Das Thakur has therefore recommended Vandera Charana Sevi Bhaktaseni Vasa. One has to live in the company of pure devotees and execute the regulated principles laid down by the previous Acharya. The 6 Goswamis, namely Sri Rupa Goswami, Sanatan Goswami, Sri Jiva Goswami, Raghunath Das Goswami, Sri Gopal Bhatta Das Bhatta Goswami, and Raghunath Bhatta Goswami. If one lives in the association of devotees, there is little chance of associating with non-devotees. The International Society for Krishna Consciousness is opening many centers just to invite people to live in the company of devotees and practice the regulated principles of spiritual life. So this association with Rupa Goswami in his books, presented by the pure devotee Prabhupada in his translations and explanations, is the way that each one of us can make advancement in Krishna consciousness. Any other process is a deviation, and there will be great difficulty. And we see that going on right now in the ISKCON movement. Yaśodā-nandana Prabhu, please, if you could further explain to us.
That's a very good point you're raising here, is we see that there are many people who claim to be following Prabhupada, who claim to be representing Srila Prabhupada, but yet when we carefully analyze their mode of behavior and what they're saying, we detect so many discrepancies. Now, we're not interested in criticizing or speaking against any individual person, but we have to use our God-given intelligence to carefully ascertain, what does that mean to follow Prabhupada? What does that mean to actually be a student of Srila Prabhupada, a devotee of Srila Prabhupada? Now, it's quite significant that Prabhupada himself, just like there was one conversation in the Prabhupada conversation book, Prabhupada was speaking with a doctor in Bombay, and this doctor was trying to promote a certain sect in India. And Prabhupada said, I don't tell my disciples and my followers that you chant my name, Bhaktivedanta, Bhaktivedanta. Of course, out of respect and affection for Srila Prabhupada, we glorified him. That is according to the Shastra. But Prabhupada did not, his point was, I don't tell my followers to glorify me, I tell them to glorify Krishna. So this was the very unique, special characteristics of Srila Prabhupada. He had no personal desire for self-glorification, self-aggrandizement, or any kind of material desire. At this point, we're going to read a few paragraphs from a lecture that Prabhupada gave in New York. This is on text number, chapter 9, text 13, on November 28, 1966. November 28, 1966. Srila Prabhupada. Mahatmanastu mam parta devim prakritim-ashrita bhajantyananyamanasu gyatva bhutadim avyayam. Now, Lord Krishna says that those who are Mahatmas, the symptom of Mahatma is that he knows that the Supreme Lord, Sri Krishna, is the original personality of Godhead, and he is the fountainhead and source of all emanation. Janmadyasya yataha. In the Vedanta Sutra, it is said very nicely, Atato Brahma Jignasa. Now, this human form of life is meant for inquiring about Brahman, the greatest. We're all engaged in studying temporary small things, problems, small problems. What is that problem? Ahar nidra bhaya maituna. The animal problems, how to eat, how to sleep, how to defend, and how to mate. These four principles, they are very minor problems. They're not at all problems, because automatically these problems are solved, automatically. Vishaya kalu sarvataha syat. Vishaya means this Vishaya, this object of enjoyment, these bodily necessities. Vishaya kalu sarvataha syat. Vishaya means these objects of sense gratification you will have in any form of body. Even a small bird, he has arrangement for eating. He has arrangement for sleeping. He has arrangement for defending. And he has arrangement for mating. As soon as a bird is born, 2 eggs are born, 1 male, 1 female. That means from the beginning of his life, the mating problem is solved. There is no necessity. A bird, the birds or bees, they never seek. The male is seeking after female or female after seeking. That is automatically solved. Similarly, their eatings are already there, and their sleeping accommodation are already there. So these are not problems. But we have created problems only for these 4 demands of the body. So Vedanta Sutra says that don't be busy about these problems. Vishayaha khalu sarvata syat. These problems are satisfied in any form of life. Why in human form? They have developed consciousness. They've got better business. Why they should be engaged only for these 4 principles of life? Their problem is to inquire what is the source of all these manifestations. Atato Brahma Jignasa. The Vedanta Sutra informs, now you should inquire. You have got this developed consciousness of life, human form of life, very intelligent, and you are simply wasting your time simply for this eating, sleeping, and mating. Oh, this is not your business. This is not your business. Nayam deho dehabhajam nriloke kastan kamanarati vidbhujam ye. Vidbhujan means stool eaters, hogs. So Rishabdev says, Nayam deha, this body is very valuable body. Every living entity has got a body, but this human form of body, especially the civilized form of body, oh, this is very important. And how do you utilize it? Simply for eating, sleeping? No. Nayam deho dehabhajam driloke. In the human society, this form of body is not meant for simply toiling hard only for getting these 4 principles of life. Because these necessities are supplied even to the hogs, the stool eater. The stool eater is considered the lowest of the animals, the hogs. Still, he's got mating facility, he's got eating facility, he's got sleeping facility, and he's got defending facility. Therefore, Rishabdev says that this form of life, this human form of life, don't waste in that way. Vishayaha kalu sarvataha. You will have it. Even if you don't try for it, you will have it. Just for example, take for example myself. I'm a foreigner, Indian. I came here only with $7 with me. Doc, I got down from the ship. I did not know where to live, where to eat, but I'm here for the last more than 1 year. So I am also eating, I'm also sleeping, I'm also well protected by my friend. So how it is being done? I'm not serving here. I did not come with some money, but there is arrangement. Everyone, you've got arrangement made. Don't be very anxious for these problems. You should be anxious, atato brahma jignasa. This is the problem of life. So who inquires about this? Atato brahmjignasa. Those who are actually developed in consciousness, they inquire, atataha, what is the source of myself? I'm living entity, this world, this nature, there's so many things we see. And what is the cause? What is the cause of all causes? What is that? That should be inquiry. Jignasuhu, inquisitive. And the answer is given in the Vedanta Sutra next. Atato Brahma Jignasa. Now this life is meant for inquiring about the Supreme Brahman. And what is that Brahman? That Brahman means Janmadyasya Yataha. Brahman means that source, that supreme absolute truth, from whom or from which everything emanates, the cause of all causes. That is Brahman. So in this way, Prabhupada gives so many wonderful, detailed explanations on that same verse. I suggest that anybody, I don't know if you can still get those books in hard copy. This is collected lectures on Bhagavad-gītā As It Is. You can also get those lectures online at prabhupadbooks.com in the lecture section, and you can see so many points that Prabhupada is raising. There's the commentary, the original commentary on the Bhagavad-gītā, and then there's Prabhupada's supplementary lectures with so many points he's making. I humbly suggest anybody take great advantage of this special nectar. Even if you don't have the hard copy, you can go online and get these wonderful lectures. Molto bene, molto bene.
Yes, and we have, this is the evidence that Prabhupada is present so prolifically in his sound, his information that he's delivered to us. I know that our God brother in Dallas, Texas, Sarvabhauma, is very
Dharma Bhavana.
Dharma Bhavana is very sorry, Prabhu, is very enthusiastic to practice Krishna consciousness according to Prabhupada's teachings that he has absorbed in his life. How do you act during the week for your efforts in preaching Krishna consciousness, Dharma Bhavana, for everyone's information? Microphone, please. Just click the microphone.
Is that okay now?
Ah, thank you.
I think I'm unmuted now.
Yeah.
Well, we have our deities at home. We do change the dress every now and then. We chant 16 rounds a day, and there's at least one conference call and a couple Zoom programs. So we try to associate with devotees. We're finding that we're all separated in different places and cities, but devotee association seems to be very, very important. And then every couple of weeks, I go to the Sunday feast where there's some distance away. Devotees are also trying to approach Prabhupada, become Prabhupada Nugas. So, and recently we've been going to kind of a road trip, visiting different devotees in different states. And we're just trying our best here. It's always a struggle.
But you're active. You're very active in finding good association.
It tried to be, yes.
Well, thank you very much. I wanted to go ask Venkat, but we have some questions coming up on the chat from various people. Maybe you can decipher the meaning of the question so we can get a clearer understanding of what they're asking, and then hopefully we can share some answers for them. Go ahead, Prabhu, please.
Okay, first question is by M.S. Dhoni. How read and understand the Sanskrit language in easier way? Hare Krishna. That's the first question.
Okay, well, so what does that mean? How can they understand Sanskrit?
I guess he wants to learn Sanskrit. So how does he go about it in the best way?
Okay. Yaśodā, maybe you could share an answer for that, being our
Can you repeat
scholar.
that question again?
Yes, go ahead.
Let me go to the
Yaśodā.
chat here, see what's what.
How to read and understand the Sanskrit language. Can you suggest me what to do to understand and read it in an easier way?
Well, it's interesting that Srila Prabhupada in 1966, when he gave his first explanation of the meaning of the Maha Mantra, in that song on chanting the Maha Mantra, Prabhupada specifies in that explanation, there's no need to understand the language of the mantra. In other words, on one hand, Prabhupada said in the beginning, there's no need to learn Sanskrit to understand the Hare Krishna mantra. On the other hand, for those who are devotees, and especially initiated devotees, Prabhupada encouraged them to learn to pronounce the Sanskrit properly. It's not very difficult. At the end of the Bhagavad-gītā, there is a Sanskrit guide that people can actually follow. It's there in all the books with the actual pronunciation and how to pronounce the words. So it's a matter of following. And nowadays, if you go on YouTube and you listen to Prabhupada's lectures, there is recitation of Bhagavad-gītā by Prabhupada, recitation of Bhagavatam, and it's not very difficult. You don't have to spend 12 years studying the Sanskrit just to learn how to pronounce it. It's pretty simple. It's not very complicated. I mean, if you listen to Prabhupada's Srimad Bhagavatam classes, he speaks very clearly and very simply that anybody can learn from that. So it's just a matter of hearing properly. But if you want the technical aspect of studying Sanskrit, for example, in the Bhagavad-gītā, there's the Sanskrit pronunciation guide. I don't know if it can be seen here. That's on page number 881. And if you follow the instructions there, you'll be able to correctly understand how to pronounce the Sanskrit. That's all I can say.
That's a lot.
Let me
Thank
just
you.
tell an interesting story in this connection.
Yes.
Guru Kripa Swami and myself were with Srila Prabhupada in Vrindavan in his room, and Prabhupada was telling us a story, or when he was in Prayag on Allahabad, that he bought a car. He called it a Plymouth car. And Guru Kripa, we laughed a little bit at Prabhupada, and Guru Kripa told Prabhupada, it's not pronounced that way. And Prabhupada says, why not? He says, Plymouth. He says, that is, Prabhupada then went and he gave us an instruction. He says, that is the problem with the English language. For example, if you put and but, there's no explanation why it's pronounced different. But Sanskrit is very different. It's always pronounced the same way. It's a very scientific, perfect language. And Prabhupada says, that is why I recommend to my students to learn the Sanskrit pronunciation, learn the Sanskrit chanting, to chant it properly. It was interesting the way that Prabhupada explained Plymouth. Hare Krishna.
Thank you. Amazing. Yaśodā-nandana Prabhu, you have an amazing memory. It's extraordinary. And
I don't know about that.
well, these stories that you tell us are real gifts of truth that many of us have never heard before. This is a wonderful opportunity for people to get association of Srila Prabhupada through the association of his disciples that, like you, can remember in detail all of these instructions that he gave to us, not that people are concocting all this philosophy just to attract so many followers. Do we have a question there from
Oh, yeah, we have a few more questions. So
there's a
question.
Gormani there, Goramani Das. Do you have your hand up, Prabhu? Goramani, or are you just in ecstasy?
No.
Did you want to ask a question, or are you okay? Oh, you're in ecstasy. Okay, go ahead, Venkat. Bhatta Prabhu. A couple of more questions before we conclude our Saturday morning Bhagavad-gītā reading and discussion. Please.
Question from Andabaya Mataji.
Yes.
Question for Yaśodā-nandana Prabhu. When Srila Prabhupada said to his disciples in the July 9th letter, henceforward, did that mean for eternity? Does what the spiritual master instruct mean until eternity?
Well, whether it's eternity or for the foregoing future, basically Prabhupada was establishing the process for initiation in his society. In other words, this is the only written definitive instruction from His Divine Grace how he wanted the process to be carried on. Now, I'm quite aware of all the different interpretations which have surfaced from various individuals who claim that they follow the disciplic succession, or that nobody ever did that before, or this and that is not in the tradition. And my reply to all these objections is we only have one tradition. Our only tradition is to follow the order of the spiritual master. Now, if somebody can show and demonstrate with clarity where and when did Prabhupada order in 1977, in the last few months of his manifested presence, when and where did he appoint or select or choose any successor or initiating gurus or Diksha gurus, then we can accept that. But nobody's been able to demonstrate that in the last 46 years because it is not there. As a matter of fact, the main promoter of this living guru system, of this appointed living guru system, Tamal Krishna Goswami, admitted in the Topanga Canyon, California on December 3rd, 1980, that this idea of a guru appointment is a myth. In other words, it's fiction. They invented this. They misinterpreted Prabhupada's statement. Why? Because it did not fit with their personal ambition program. All Prabhupada was doing is designating some senior disciples to carry on a service for the society. This was meant to be a service. This was not a position. This was not a rubber stamp position that you are now big time initiating Acharya. No, it was not. As far as for the argument that this was written by Tamal Krishna Goswami, well, for anybody's information, Prabhupada's signature is in that letter. That means he approved it. Now, as far as when the word henceforward, that means for the foreseeable future. Now, if somebody can show us when and where did Prabhupada directly ordered any one of these original 11, or anybody for that matter, to be Diksha gurus, would be happy to look at it, but nobody's been able to show that. I know there are many different arguments and different side points, but the point is our only tradition is to follow the order of the spiritual master. And that was the order of Srila Prabhupada for the foreseeable future. I hope it helps. Hare Krishna.
And the idea is too, Mata, that through this association you can get the information, the correct information on how Prabhupada wanted us to conduct ourselves after his departure. And a lot of people do not know Prabhupada's life story. They do not know his philosophy. They do not know his instructions, but they carry on with this facade that they're somewhat devoted to Prabhupada's mission. So this is a very serious matter that has come about in the year 2023. And so we'll move forward. We want to thank everyone for attending today. And before we leave our association today, I wanted to bring up our publication of the Vyas Puja homage to Srila Prabhupada in September that we're preparing. Venkat Bhatta Prabhu, is it possible for you to show the front cover design for the book that we're preparing, just so that people can see? Now, here is the cover, just slide. Oh, let me see if I can move that. Yeah. And it says here, an inspiring collection of essays on his spiritual significance in the lives of his real disciples, which are all of us. When we're qualifying real disciple, just bring it back now, we're qualifying them as those that accept that Prabhupada is living with us in sound. And he is our guru. And by his mercy, we will all go back home, back to Godhead. So we want you, all of our members here, please write an offering. Yaśodā-nandana Prabhu does say, even if it's a simple expression of your feeling, that's enough. You don't have to. I know Yaśodā-nandana Prabhu's written an 11-page offering to Prabhupada in this matter. But this is not necessary. It is just a matter of you internally expressing your personal feelings about how you want to serve Prabhupada in his mission with the Prabhupada Disciples Association for the rest of your life. And in this way, you'll be able to get the mercy of the spiritual master, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupāda. So please submit these offerings. Venkat Prabhu, how can they submit them?
They can go to harekrishnasociety.org, and there's a form which they can use to submit the offering.
Perfect. So harekrishnasociety.org, so you can tell your friends. And if we have God brothers or God sisters that are interested in protecting Prabhupada's legacy, please ask them to write their feelings to Srila Prabhupada in this published edition. And in the edition, we're also going to have a lot of very nice opening articles that they'll be able to read, that you can read on this position of Prabhupada as the pure devotee, spiritual master for all of us. And then the names of each person will be listed alphabetically in the contents, the names of the people that are contributors are writing it. So you'll be eternally benefited by making a contribution to this publication from our group to Srila Prabhupada on that special day. So this is going on. We're also going to be having, and I see that Ron Singh is with us today again. He's a regular attendee at our programs. He's conducting a festival in Sacramento this year, and of course anybody's invited to attend it. And Yaśodā-nandana Prabhu will be the special guest speaker at this event. There's two events, the Janmashtami festival, and that'll be that's September 8th, I believe, yeah, Prabhu. And then September 9th will be the Vyas Puja celebration of Srila Prabhupada. So there'll be 2 days of festivities at the Sacramento Center, the Hare Krishna Society Sacramento Center. Yes, Yaśodā Prabhu.
Thursday,
Pardon?
September 7th, and Friday, September 8th, not September 9th. We are observing the Mayapur calendar.
Okay.
Thursday for Janmashtami, Friday for Prabhupada's Vyasa Puja. Hare Krishna.
Okay, perfect. So 7th and 8th, and Yaśodā-nandana will be there, and we'll be filming it, by the way, for Zoom, so everybody can attend globally and be a part of it without having to actually make the journey. But if you do want to make the journey, Ron Singh will make all the arrangements for you to stay in Sacramento and be a part of this program for everyone's benefit and get the association of Yaśodā-nandana Prabhu those 2 days. Venkat Bhatta Prabhu, please, if you could play the kirtan, we'll listen to the last part of this program, the chanting of the Hare Krishna mantra by His Divine Grace and chant along and enjoy the transcendental association of Srila Prabhupada in sound vibration. All glories to Srila Prabhupada.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Excellent choice of chanting with Vishnu John Swami today and Srila Prabhupada playing on the mridanga. Vanchakalpa Turubhyascha
Kripa Sindubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavibhyo Namo Namaha. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna,
Tutte le
Hare
glorie
Krishna.
sua divine grazia Srila Prabhupada.